Did you practice in front of a mirror?
No.
Oh, just
dancing was all in. Everything was done within my mind.
That's great.
I think that sometimes when we use mirrors, mirrors can be a problem. They tend to give us images that are not true.
Okay, it is rolling.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome to Filmmakers On, the podcast for filmmakers, by filmmakers, and the people that love media.
I hear your paper.
Hello, and welcome to Filmmakers On, the podcast for filmmakers, by filmmakers, and the people that love media.
Hi, I'm Jay Horton.
And I'm Sean A. Reed.
And today's guest... Oh, I see. And today's guest, as part of our Black History Month celebration, is actor, dancer, teacher, Shabba-Doo.
But first, it's time for What Are You Watching? I'm watching, in honor of Black History Month, the She's Gotta Have It Netflix series. I also spent some time watching the She's Gotta Have It and revisiting that. And you had your first question I could imagine that Jason was going to ask was, who directed it?
Who did direct that?
That was Spike Lee on both accounts, and he was the first director for Netflix to actually direct all 10 episodes of the series. So it's the interesting thing about it, which I enjoy on some levels, is use of hashtags. It's also very much like every character is introduced with a hashtag.
Oh, okay.
So
do they hashtag their name? Or?
Yeah, they hashtag their names. It'll be hashtag Nola Gray, you know, and so hashtag Mars Blackman, and you'll be introduced that way.
Okay.
It also has this kind of that very much so Spike Lee jazz-infused visual style. You know, the use of stills in the introduction and how kind of the images build up on itself. And, of course, he also, as Spike Lee does, brings a lot of family members to it, including his sister playing Nola Darling's mother. That's Joy Lee. Of course, Spike Lee is not reprising his part as Mars Blackman. That's another gentleman. That's Anthony Ramos. He's a little old now.
He's not going to pass for high school anymore?
No, well, I think it was more like early 20s, but whatever.
Yeah,
like,
it's been a long time since I've seen it.
Well, I mean, it is basically his film, his kind of right out of college film that he had made. So you can imagine like early 20s. He probably was in that movie. You know, so I enjoyed it. I read some I did that thing again where you're on Amazon and you read some other people's reviews. And I think that often what happens with forms like someone like Spike Lee or Soderbergh or especially guys who experiment a little bit more visually, that they're often a little bit more misunderstood by the average cinema goer.
Right.
I don't want to demean the average cinema goer, or not even. Well, I don't think they go to the cinema. They go to movies. Okay, so let's start there. There's a person who goes to a movie, and there's a person who goes to cinema, right? And Spike Lee is cinema. Spike Lee is a Cannes quality filmmaker who's been there several times, and we got to see Black Klansman there. And it's an experience when you go to see his movie, and you're being challenged.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that Ebert said about Spike Lee was that he brings the spirit of a poet to films about everyday reality.
I think that's very accurate. You know, and when he's not a poet, he's also, I think, someone who's just, you know, someone seeking change or seeking change in mentality by expressing it through his art.
Yeah.
In both ways, I think that's someone who seeks change and is a poet. So that's what I was watching. Jason?
Well, I continued with the Spike Lee motif, and I was watching one of his more underrated flicks, He Got Game.
I love He Got Game.
I do too. It's actually probably in my top 3. Like, I really liked it. It was his third collaboration with Denzel Washington. It starred NBA star Ray Allen as the young, you know, high school ingenue. Actually, Kobe Bryant was originally he wanted Kobe Bryant for that role.
That would have been very interesting because Kobe would have been just as intense. Turns out to be just as intense as Denzel. So
yeah, well, and I guess like Kobe had a really bad game in the playoffs. And then he had this like stringent like workout thing, so that's why he couldn't do the prior to the season, which is why he couldn't do the movie.
He's so dedicated to his craft of being number one, a basketball player. He was like, no, I need to do this. Interesting. That might have been when he threw up that air ball early in his career. We'd have to check that out.
It did say something about air balls.
Yeah, that was I think he literally got booed, and this was early. This was just early in his career, so he was still developing well. They didn't want an established star in that, so Kobe. Neither one of these guys were emerging.
No,
people.
Exactly. And Ray Allen did a great job. I really liked him. The thing that keeps bringing me back to this movie, because I am not a basketball fan. Like you set me in front of a basketball game, like I cannot sit through the whole thing. But I love this movie because it's not a movie. Basketball is the backbone of it, but it's really a story about a father and son.
Yeah, and the family and the community around that, and how when someone's on that trail of any form of fame or anybody, it could be money, whatever it is, how things change.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of even to that that level, and how that's the type of change that everyone's seeking. But maybe do they really want it?
Right.
Completely. It's very, and then did people who managed not to change in that process as well, to actually stay who they are, to stay grounded, to stay humble, to stay just trying to for the quest, especially the ball player involved. It's often that story of who's trying to corrupt in what way or control in what way.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing about this movie is, I still think creatively it's one of Spike Lee's best, but it financially didn't do so well. So it was actually like one of the last one in a string of really good movies he did. And it was like he just wasn't getting the studio budgets very much after that.
Yeah, and I mean, he still wasn't necessarily getting what other established filmmakers of other races would get.
Yeah, that's true. This
he
was like $25 million, I think, was the budget.
Yeah, I think that the most he ever had was for Malcolm X, which he had to go and raise more money, which was $100 million.
Really? Was that more than Inside Man?
But that
I'd
I think
have to look it up. But up to that point,
it went up to that point. I believe. I know up to the point Malcolm X was the most money.
Right,
I don't know if Inside Man was a comeback round, because if we were doing a retrospect, that would be two different.
I
eras for him, right?
I got you.
And two different eras for studios.
Yeah, totally.
Totally different times. So, but and interesting enough, he has survived this transition between that first era, that we'll say the first explosion of black cinema, to the second explosion of black cinema, which is, I think, more founded in. Well, I think there are probably three eras. We'd have to say that the blaxploitation created people like Gordon Parks, or helped bring people like that out too. Mm-hmm. So if you take that era, which wasn't necessarily all black directors,
right?
And there was certainly a studio era where there were not black directors but all black casts, which would be, and then of course maybe Oscar Micheaux out on his own island making, whatever he was. So Spike's definitely up there as a top, though. I put him up there as number one.
Right. And do you consider like one of the explosions of black cinema was one of those things like the early 90s, like
the Boys in the Hood?
Yeah.
That's really the one. That's the one that affected me the most, in the sense of Spike was a part of. Spike was the leader into that, but then really
he was
Boys
almost
in the
a
Hood.
precursor. He like set the stage for it.
Yeah, he came out of a different generation. He's literally a different generation in a different place. He's a New York-based filmmaker. When you look at someone like John Singleton, who's an LA-based filmmaker, and we know there's a lot of differences, just in culture and in terms of what you have to master or get through. So, they definitely. I mean, you'd look at Singleton today. He's much more of a producer person who's doing things like that Snowfall. It's one of his series. It was on this summer, and doing a lot of video games and things like that. And then there's a lot of people in between. Somebody like Matty Rich, who completely fell off of that first explosion. The Have Plenty guy. Matty Rich did, I think, Straight Outta Brooklyn.
Oh, okay.
And then the Have Plenty guy, who only made one movie. I forget his name.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of a rumblings there, and it seemed like there were more. And then.
The Hughes brothers.
The Hughes brothers are definitely one.
And they kind of split up and went different directions.
Yeah, they're definitely going down different routes. And then who else is in that genre? I think that's, and then the Spike Lee cousin. What is it? What's his name?
Well, unfortunately, we call it a black filmmaker explosion, but we can't think of more than 5 or 6.
Yeah, because it was like a Spadook.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, hey, we're gonna. No.
I think we're doing it. It's much more. This is much more realistic because we also have, the African American female, the black woman,
Right.
really directing, and we're also seeing different classes. I mean, even seeing Precious a few years ago.
That was a great movie.
A great movie that's affecting it. So, for Black History Month, I know that. Things often take a long time to change, but I know my dad was on the African American Steering Committee a long time ago on the DGA, just trying to get, people to get nominated or get them to even acknowledge it. That there's been a lot of change, and if we keep going artistically in that direction, and just creating opportunities for different voices, because ultimately it's what's going to save cinema.
Yeah.
It's what's going to save the theater experience, is bringing quality points of view.
Diversity.
Diversity is important. It's what's going to get the butts in the seat, I think. So, talk about a butt in the seat, or a dancing, or a pop locking master, someone who's a part of a different, more of the hip hop explosion, and more about the breakdancing explosion.
Yeah.
A different era, but also created a different generation of movies, Breakin and Breakin 2.
Yeah.
They brought in this and ushered in those hip hop and dancing and rapping movies. And he certainly was a cultural figure before that, with his appearances on all those television shows with the Locking Crew. So, Shabba-Doo.
Shabba-Doo. Yeah.
Shabba-Doo. So, do we need to say any more than Shabba-Doo?
Nah, let's do it.
All right, Shabba-Doo.
I don't have my water. But
There's some right outside the door.
Hey, throw water in, Becky.
Thank you, Becky.
You're an extension of this production in some weird way.
Thank
now
you,
go.
Becky.
No, kidding. No, go away. Yeah, she's my best bud. She's cool.
She was awesome. All right, let's get him settled. I'll use that one.
Yeah, I'm ready whenever you are.
Oh, there we go. Shabba-Doo, thank you so much for coming in and Filmmakers On.
Oh, my pleasure.
I'm really excited because we were working on a project, I think it was like 10 years ago.
I know.
When I first got back to LA. And we were put together by a couple Canadians. Do you remember who put together? Jills?
Yeah, it was Jill?
Gills. Gills. LaPlante. And Les... Oh, God, I can't remember his name. I'm going to look it up because there was a production manager in Canada. They're both Canadians, and they put us together.
See where we're at now.
Yeah, well,
we had to do it on our own. Be Americans and do it on our own.
But at least we had each other's phone number, and I got a chance to come out a couple of times and see you out when you were. I don't know where you were living at the time. I think it was.
I was out in Valencia, California.
Yes,
at one
you were in
point.
Valencia.
We came out there, and just we've stayed in contact over the years, so it's good. That's unusual.
Okay.
In this town.
Yeah,
especially if there's no money. It's like.
But I really remembered how generous you were with your time and how free a spirit you were as a person, that it wasn't like you didn't carry a lot of the precursors of things that people could carry with them. It's just you're just a great guy. So thank you so much for coming in.
Well, Sean, that's not the way I was raised. Really, we'll get into it, but I wasn't raised that way.
Yeah.
My job is my job, my work is my work, my love is my love, but at the end of the day, we're just all humans.
Yeah. So let's get into that. You're originally from Chicago?
Chicago, Illinois. I grew up primarily on the north side.
Okay.
Cabrini Green Projects.
Oh wow,
that was a country club. And then we moved. We thought to a better neighborhood, which was a better area of the north side, which was still the ghetto, but it was like better because every now and again you would encounter flowers on someone's lawn or whatever. But then I stayed on the south side with my grandma. So I've been pretty much all over Chicago, but primarily the north side.
I mean, you had a unique family even for Chicago in that era. I mean, you're Egyptian. Your one parent's Egyptian.
My mom is Ethiopian. Black,
okay.
And my dad's Puerto Rican.
Okay.
Don't ask me how that came together. It's like one of those weird menus
that
you find downtown LA. It's like
it's fusion.
Yeah,
you are fusion,
pita
sir.
and Cheerios.
So yeah, and did
weird.
you speak Spanish in the home?
I wouldn't call it Spanish. It
Okay.
would be an insult to Spanish people.
Okay.
But I can say enough to get myself either in trouble or out of trouble.
Okay.
And I can say all the food groups,
Okay, well that's a very
which
important.
is really good.
So where did you start to discover being I'll just say performer, really, because
It started when I was a kid. I used to be referred to as the storyteller. And I'll give you a brief little kind of moment. But one day, my mom, just give you an idea, my mom was, talking with some girlfriends of hers back there in the early 60s, late 50s. Do the math out there. They're with their calculator. Anyway, and she was telling them about her dream. She was like, I had my dream, and I was doing this, I was doing that. And she said, well, my family name is Coochie, so they call me Coochie. So they say, oh, Coochie was in my dream. And I just cut right in. I say, yeah. And I went down the stairs, and I opened up the door and all this stuff. And she was like, how do you know that? I said, well, you said I was there. So boom. So then they would just like forever, my relatives or friends, no matter what it was, they'd say, bring Coochie in here and let him tell us about what happened. And I was very colorful about things, and about life and things. So they just sit around and go, is that how it went?
and it was all from your
Just making it up. My imagination. I was kind of diagnosed as being what they call ADD now. And when I was a kid in school, they said I was locked in the mind. I lived a very troubled life. I get into great detail in my autobiography, The King of Crenshaw, but I talk about my life growing up in Chicago, and it wasn't very pleasant. And so I used to sit in school and daydream, and I could actually leave my body. And so they said, well, he's locked in the mind. And that was a sleepwalker. So then I just added to this whole kind of thing. He tells stories. He daydreams and he sleepwalks. He's a strange kid. And so I kind of had this sort of tag, hey, Coochie's a kind of an odd kid growing up, and I was in a lot of ways. I could create my own world. So anyway,
so that obviously translates into you managed to not stay completely locked in your own world.
Well, to some degree, I'm still there, but I'm able to actually use it and control it. I spend many hours by myself within my own mind with my imaginary characters. If I create a character, like I was watching a documentary with Nat King Cole about Nat King Cole and Nat King Cole's wife. She was just like such a socialite. And so then I started to become her. She was like, oh, Nat. He's my husband. He's my husband. And I would walk around the house, I'll give you a bowl of cereal. Just like talking like that all day long, And so I would just create these characters. And sometimes I'd put them in a closet or on a shelf. And when I needed them, I'd bring them out and I'd either write them into an idea or what have you.
So like, how's a child, growing up in North Chicago, when you're looking at your future, like, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be out of Chicago.
That's a plan.
I just wanted to be out of Chicago, and I wanted to be out of my current circumstances. Like I said, growing up, I had a great mom, but it just wasn't a great time.
Yeah.
It was a very different world growing up as a kid in the late 50s, early 60s. Whole different mentality. And I just really didn't enjoy myself. The only time I enjoyed myself was when I was alone and I could create my own little stories and I could dance in my room. And I didn't even have a style of dance per se. I would just go crazy.
Did you practice in front of a mirror?
No.
Oh, just
dancing was all in. Everything was done within my mind.
That's great.
I think that sometimes when we use mirrors, mirrors can be a problem. They tend to give us images that are not true. That's why I don't watch any of the films I ever did. I try not to.
Wow.
I have seen them, but I painfully watch them.
Okay.
I rather do them and walk away even if I direct them or what have you, I don't want to really look at it.
Ah,
I live it in the moment. I leave that to editors or what have you.
right. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, because to me, it's a little narcissistic. It's a little bit of it's a little incestual for me to look at myself dancing. I do it in my master classes around the world because I have to. But I always tell them, hey, you know what? Always dance away from the mirror. Dance within your mind. See the dance in your head. Feel it in your heart, in your soul. All that other stuff, looking at yourself, it can be dangerous.
Right.
So,
Okay.
It's a great perspective, actually, because it's more about the reflection inside.
Yeah.
What you're radiating, and that energy will come out.
yeah, I strongly believe that, Sean. I believe that we are who we are inside. And we're not. I had a long conversation with my friend Becky that you just met. In any case, we were talking about Freddie Mercury and reflecting on the film and what we thought about Bohemian Rhapsody. And I said, I saw a much different person than everyone talks about in the film and say, well, he was struggling with his homosexuality or what have you. I said, no. This is a man. It has nothing to do with what he's doing in that way. It had a lot to do with this man being very, very crushed, and it had a lot to do with a person that felt like his value wasn't there for people, and he needed a tremendous amount of love, and he wanted that. And so we're just having a deep discussion about that. So what a person does, what we do every day, is not necessarily who we are. I think if given the chance, we are loving creatures that want to do right, want the best for our fellow man. I really do. Sometimes we get caught up in these, different groups or what have you, but it's just what I think.
So is that little boy who's trapped in his mind
Right.
a little bit, how does that then transfer over into literally a founder of locking? I mean, that's a big jump there, just that step.
Wow.
So it had to do what really got you out of that room by yourself and got you into
It happened by the grace of God. I wish I could have said, hey, I sat there and I put it all together and I figured it out. But that'd be such a lie, and that would be something that maybe someone would put in a movie. But in real life, you live your life. I lived my life, and I made tremendous mistakes. I had people who believed in me. I had people who loved me and cared about me, that lifted me when I needed to be lifted. They heard me when I needed to be heard. And then one thing led to another. I just always enjoyed making people smile, having a good time. So living the kind of life I lived as a kid, it makes me feel like my emotions are raw all the time. I feel like Bruce Banner says, like he said in the Adventure movie.
Yeah.
He said, how do you control the Hulk? He says, I'm always angry. I'm always emotional. Sometimes I allow people I trust to see more of it. But when I'm performing, I let it all hang out. I said, this is what I am. And I was just talking about dancing. Most people put dancing in categories. Like, it's going to be rough and tough. He's going to be like this. It's going to be like that. Or I'm a man, or I'm gay, or I'm like this or that. I really feel asexual when I'm dancing. I don't feel any particular thing like that. I feel that the human experience in itself, the body itself, is feminine in itself. It's fluid. It's liquid. So I appreciate that part of me. I appreciate the part of my masculinity. So all of it together creates something else. And so I just express myself. And so I'll conclude with this. One, I was talking to a guy once. Well, he was challenging me. He was saying, I can whoop you, Shabba-Doo. whatever. He always, I'm gonna whoop you, but he said, I'm better than you. I said, okay. He said, I could do this, I can do that. I said, okay. And then he said, I want to battle you. I said, well, no, I don't want to battle you. I don't want to dance against you or whatever. And he says, well, I can beat you doing this or that. And I said, well, I can feel more than you. And see, this is the challenge. People today are so guarded. They're afraid to show who they really are, and I'm not. I don't care what you think of me. I can sit in a movie, I feel free, I cry if the movie makes me cry. I don't think, who's watching? Or any of that stuff. So I walk around every day with like this sack of emotions, free to express myself in any way that I want to.
Wow. And
I tell you, man, you feel just as short of God.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
That's something to aspire to for some of us.
Yeah. Well, we all. That's who we all are. Mm-hmm. We all are. We're free moral agents. We're free. Always remember that. We're free. Don't let circumstances control the situation.
That's that when you're working with someone, when you're teaching them, or you're doing choreography, or you're looking for, especially somebody who maybe is not the greatest dancer in the world, but maybe they're in a position where they need to be like the greatest one. How do you translate that? Do you look for something in them? Do you help them with finding their own thing?
Here's where I'm at, and this is not a cliche, by the way. When I see someone, I think they're the greatest dancer that ever hit the planet. Right away.
Okay.
But the only difference between that person and myself is they don't believe it. My commitment level is high. My belief system is strong. So I don't go in. I don't dance seeking a result or a reward, or I'm not trying to win. I'm not trying to beat anyone. I'm trying to express myself. And I don't care if you like it or don't like it, or like me, don't like me. It doesn't matter to me. The only thing I really care about is, did you understand it? Did you understand me? Now, you could say, hey, I understand you, and I disagree. Mission complete. Good, I've done it. So what I do is I encourage people, young people, not just kids, even adults, it doesn't matter, to not play a result. Just express. Whatever that might be. I said, you could create the next big dance right now. Well, I said, why even think like you're a beginner? Why should we do that? Why should we think, let's take a beginner's class? I don't want to go to a beginner's class. I want to go right to advanced. Matter of fact, I don't even want to do advanced. You know what advanced says to people? That there's an ending. You're playing an ending. I've been advanced filmmaking. Yeah, no, you're not. You want to get into creation mode. Creation mode knows no limit. And then you don't see it as a failure either.
Absolutely.
It's just one thing leads to another. Sometimes you like, I have shot my arrow and I missed my mark. The intended mark, but then I realized below that there was something cool there too. So I also keep it later. I put it in my gunny sack, and I might, weed through it later and say, there's some pieces there that really works on this other thing. So I never look at it as a loss.
Staying in the process and out of the results.
There you go.
This ultimately.
That's okay. If there's anything that we have, and we don't want to use the word control, because that's horrible.
Right.
Control nothing. Live everything, but control nothing. Then you're free to work spontaneous off a game plan. Always be, I was in film school. Here it is. I was in film school, and while I was there,
And you went to American Film Institute?
Yeah, AFI, American Film Institute, graduated, class of 96 as a directing fellow.
So this was well after...
After Breakin and all that, yeah. Yeah, that was an interesting journey. I mean, I get to AFI.
Yeah.
And you had the prerequisite is that you needed a bachelor's degree, because it's a postgraduate university. Yeah. I didn't have that. Okay. And by the way, you'll learn about it in my book anyway, but I'm a high school dropout.
Yeah.
So, I didn't have any of those things, but, I still applied. Mm-hmm. I submitted my, 5-page narrative, 1.5 space, whatever. It just told my story. And they said, hey, come in. Deja Magyar and Frank Pearson from Dog Day Afternoon.
That's great.
And I come in and they said, why do you want to come here? Because you don't have a degree. Well, we know who you are, Shabba-Doo. We know your work. We like your work. Mm-hmm. Why do you want to come to AFI? And I said, well, I'd made a movie, and it wasn't the movie I wanted to make. So I knew, and I'm always honest with myself, but I didn't know certain technical things. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't the story I really wanted to tell. Was it? I hit all the great marks, though. I mean, I came in under budget, right. In all these things. But it wasn't the movie I was setting out to tell, the story I was trying to tell, and I'm the storyteller.
Right.
Just another means to storytelling. Oh well. So I tell them that, and they say, we're gonna let you come here. So I get there. I'm the most famous guy on the but I'm also like in my 40s or what have you, and all the kids are like in their 20s. Yeah. And they were like, who's this cat? Shabba-Doo. And then, anyway, so I'm celebrated on the campus, but I lose sight. So my first project. I actually cast Timok from Last Dragon.
Yes.
Last Dragon, right? So it was a terrible outing. What I mean by that is, it didn't have all the pieces didn't go together. It's like it was like a great jigsaw puzzle. Mm-hmm. If you were to judge the puzzle on the piece alone, that's a nice piece. But how does that dragon arm work with the tree?
It's like the sum was actually less than the parts.
But by itself, that's a wicked lizard. Anyway, lizard arm. Lizard leg rather. It's a great lizard leg. Anyway, it failed miserably. My mom coached me. I was like, you know what? I'm in the car and I'm crying. I'm crying so hard I'm blowing snot bubbles like I was like it was Lawrence Welk in my car. And while there was rain, it was like, it's like, when you cry and you start hiccuping.
Oh, what up?
I was there. My mom said, get back in there and and you show them the be the kind of man I raised and blah, blah, blah. And, talked me off the ledge. I was like, I just don't know how to do it. And so I was like, I'll let it go. I'll just do something else. Like, no, that's what you want to do. You went there and you're going to go there and you're going to finish that, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay. So I did. And so I get really serious about my next projects at AFI. So I'm watching Orson Welles, A Touch of Evil.
Oh, yeah.
With Charlton Heston. That 10-minute mise en scène.
That opening shot.
That shot is just amazing. And I'm like, woo. And I didn't even know why I started watching it, other than it was because it was Orson Welles. Yeah. But I'm watching it, and so I'm like, wow, why did I pick this particular one? I didn't think about that. But now, fast forward, I'm doing a film. This is my last project. It was called A Player. In any case, I had, you don't have any money at AFI. You beg everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
You beg everyone. You beg beggars. That's where you're at. He's like, do you have $1? I said, no. Do you have 50 cents? Don't you try to out-beg me now. I got a movie to make. But I was like, so anyway, we did it. So I'm on the set, and I convinced this guy, I like the word convince this man, to use his nightclub for this very important scene. Wow. He says, you could have it from early morning until evening, like 6 or 7. Around 1 o'clock, he said, my producer comes, well, we're going to have to shut down. The owner says that we have to be out here by 2. I was like, what? I was like, I'm not going to make my day. I can't make my day by 2. And it was like, and boom. I went outside. I didn't lose it in front of everyone, but I went outside and you cry to God. Mm-hmm. Is this what it's about? You bring me this far. I'm the storyteller. Anyway, and you kick trash cans. You do whatever you have to do. And so what happened was, I remembered the Orson Welles movie, and I said, I'm a choreographer. Let me draw on my dancing skills. I go back and I tell my cinematographer, I said, look, I said, this shot is a dance. All those shots, all those setups, all those things, they're gone. It's one move. I said, it's a dance. He said, okay. Well, so I had people walking into two shots, into one shots, into masters tilting, tilting with them into dirty OTSs and things, and did it. And it was like, wow. So it was like it took about 20, 30 minutes. What would have taken hours.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so the experience was really good. I learned something from that, Learn to work spontaneous off a game plan. Everything changes.
Yep.
Be flexible.
Yeah.
Any
Absolutely.
case.
Be flexible. So that and so from there is so much. So it's like
Right.
96 you're an AFI. But well before that, you've been on movie. And the great thing is that you're a person who's able to say, I didn't know everything about movies from making movies or working on movies with other people because what you were doing was different. You did your job when you were doing those movies. And it's very specific. And you were doing a lot of choreography and a lot of other things. So you're not worried about it. And you're not necessarily looking at everybody else when you do. And in those positions, you don't often have a lot of time to watch as much people would think. You're usually thinking about what you have to do next.
But I did pay some attention.
Well, yeah, I would gather.
But not to the degree that I probably could have and taken advantage of. But I did. Again, that one of the people was Joel Silberg. Not Joel Silver, but Joel Silberg.
Okay.
And most people go, Joel Silver? No, not Joel Silver. Joel Silberg.
Silberg.
Yeah, anyways, the late Joel Silberg, he's passed away, but he was a great guy and from Israel, Tel Aviv. And we just formed a real bond in making the Breakin films. And he kind of walked me through the process and let me just kind of shadow him.
Oh, that's great.
Which was really cool. But he came to me the very first day of filming. He was like, I don't know what this movie is. Had I really known what I know now, that's what I should have jumped out the window and ran. But I didn't. I was like, can't we just make up something what it is?
Yeah, you just want, at that point,
like,
you just want to make the movie, right?
Yeah, I was like, don't we just dance and anyway, so he was like, no, what's the movie? And so he sat me down in this hotel room. He's like, okay, Shabba-Doo, what is this movie about for you? And I said, recognition. He goes, that's the movie. That's what I was looking for.
There you go.
And so, and that's followed me my whole career. Most people ask me, Shabba-Doo, what differentiates you from young dancers today or hip-hop dancers today? I said, the message. And they said, what's the message? I said, we in my generation, we were seeking recognition. It's vastly different than someone today wanting to buy a car. I mean, that's pretty shallow. I mean, when I dance for all of my people. I'm proud to be black. It wasn't always cool. It was rough and ready. But I'm part of my ancestry, and the fact that we're still here and we're still, answering the bell after the deck was stacked against us, where a weaker person or people would have folded. Yeah. But here we are. So I take great pride in that, and so
Jason's honorary black because he's from Indiana.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, God, look at that albino. He must feel.
He's got a lot. No, Jason has a lot of, and he's actually directed several films with all black casts. So that's one of the.
Okay, well, at the end of the day, what is the connection? So I believe that he could also feel. When I say black, I don't mean like AIDS. It's no black person per se.
Yeah.
But you could embody all the qualities that I love about my ancestors: determination, creativity, all these things. So in that way, we're from the same tribe, baby.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's all good.
Yeah. Exactly.
So again. Again, I have lost my thought, but we will move on.
We will take you back then, because you're with Joel Silberg.
Oh yeah, Joel. Oh yeah, and so giving the recognition was the key. So
that was the key, and that was the key to the movie for him in terms of understanding the movie.
Yeah, understanding the movie, and what we feel is, and what I felt as a street dancer, because my character was the leader.
Yeah.
So and basically. Ozone, the character I portrayed in the Breakin films, is Shabba-Doo. I mean, those clothes are my clothes. Could you imagine that earring, the studded belts, the fedora, the trench coat?
Yes, I remember the trench coat.
Imagine this.
There's a very good memes.
Imagine that. But imagine this. I used to actually go to the laundromat in those clothes. And wash my clothes.
like from
like in real life.
Those were his clothes.
They were really my clothes.
That's how you walked around.
It wasn't like I showed up on this set and said, "Well, let me get ready."
No, wardrobe. Literally, wardrobe was you.
Yeah, wardrobe. Like this is how it worked. I would walk. I would come on the set and they would look at me and they go, "Okay, that's good." Anyway, so I was like, literally. So those clothes. I mean, I was that flamboyant.
Yeah.
So I would go to the laundromat. Could you imagine me in the vegetable section at your local grocery store, picking over eggplant?
Might turn some heads.
dressed as Ozone, talking about
at the Whole Foods in Sherman Oaks.
And I'm picking up these eggplants and one in each hand. And like, are these on sale? Anyway,
this sounds like a really good, like, kind of faux reality show.
Well, yeah. Well, you know what? We're missing a great opportunity. I think that there's a film there. I think there's Breakin the comedy.
Yeah, I think
it's like, hey, how does that work?
It's the making of Breakin.
The making of Breakin.
There's probably a modern update meta version of that, just waiting to come out.
Yes, there's got to be like Hot Tub or something.
Yeah.
And it's got to be in your book. But where did
big thing now? Sorry.
Yeah. No. Where did the name Shabba-Doo come from?
The name Shabba-Doo. My original name was Sir Lancelot. Don't bow. I know it sounds regal, doesn't it? Sir Lancelot.
That was Sir Lancelot.
Yeah, not lot. Lock.
Yes, Sir Lancelot.
I get it.
So the Campbell Jr., one of the fellow founding member of the Lockers, Campbell Jr., which was like my mentor then. I was only like 16. He named me Sir Lancelot. I had a kind of long, super fly hairdo, and I used to tie this rawhide string around my head, and kind of look like a cross between Superfly and Tonto, which is really weird.
It's a little different.
Yeah. But you know what's crazy about it? I thought it was actually cool, but there you go. Anyway, that's how I would dress on Soul Train.
Okay.
Well, one night, back in those days, records weren't the thing. It was bands would play live music, and they would only play records to give the band a break. Then they would play some records. So one was Bloodstone. I don't know if you know about Bloodstone, R&B group. Any case, they were playing at a club called Summit on the Hill. It was just above Maverick Flats, just above Crenshaw Strip.
Okay, I know what that is.
And they were going Shabba-Dabba-Doo Bop, Shabba-Dabba-Doo. And I was just dancing away, and it was Shabba-Dabba-Doo Bop, Shabba-Dabba-Doo. And I told Greg, I said, I want to change my name. He said, to what? What you going to change your name to? I said, Shabba-Dabba-Doo Bop, Shabba-Dabba-Doo. He goes, oh, no. He said, that's too long. No. He said, why don't you just call your name Shop-Doo? And he said like that, Shop-Doo. And over the years and decades, I've had many different phonetic spellings of Shabba-Doo, Shabbuadu, but now it's spelled Shabba hyphen capital Doo. that is now the name. But it took a minute to know how to spell it. But yeah, that's how I got my name, Shabba-Doo, Campbellock Jr. and Bloodstone. Yeah. Yeah, but you know, it was kind of trippy to walk around with, you know, because my real name is Adolfo Quinones.
Adolfo
nice.
Quinones.
I love the
Street
Quinones.
dancer. This sounds like a living.
Sounds
I need
like
an accident. I need an accent rather.
Yes.
You know, Adolfo Quinones, a street dancer.
It's like Antonio Banderas' stage name.
Yeah, exactly.
Basic.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Really.
like, but that wasn't really cool growing up in a black neighborhood in Chicago.
Because they can't say it.
No, you know what my name became quickly? Alpo. It went from Adolfo now. They're
Alpo.
brutal. Those brothers are brutal.
Here come the dog food.
They were like, anyway, and here come that boy with that funny hair.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, they were like,
They wish they had your hair. Is
No,
what they were making fun of.
they used to say I had good hair.
Oh yeah, you got
Remember
the,
that?
you got the good hair, boy.
Yeah, look at this. Look at this kitchen.
Yeah, you don't even know
The
about
back
that
of,
good
okay,
hair.
Jason, just so you know, the back of the neck, if it laid down smooth, they said, yeah, you had a good kitchen.
Yeah, because the kitchen is where they got to get in and they
You
get the
gotta-
curling iron to get it to straighten it.
funny.
And that's where the pain for the sister to be like, in the kitchen because they got to tend the kitchen. This is important information now. You're
know,
going to date a
this is
sister.
Cultural information.
You're going to date a sister now. You got to know
now
that.
You're armed with vital information here, and it's top secret.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
ever push the button at the wrong time.
Don't be
They'll-
sharing
they'll
that with
never-
any other white
Like,
guys.
you don't want to be in Harlem and say, let me check your kitchen.
Oh.
Not a good place. But you could do that in Newport Beach.
Okay, Newport Beach.
Yeah,
is
that'd be
okay.
fine.
I learned that song.
Yeah, because then they'll literally think that you mean their kitchen.
You're the inspector.
But in Harlem, they'll say, hey, what you talking about?
What you talking about my girl's kitchen for?
So yeah. It was a interesting time growing up, being a mixed kid.
Being out and being
Well, I have
Alpo.
Ethiopian, Puerto Rican, and a little Jewish.
Okay.
You know, one of the jokes we had going on was I had two Jewish friends at AFI, and they would see us coming, the three of us, and they would say, "Here comes 2.5 Jews." Anyways, but yeah.
So you're with you're on Breakin.
Yeah.
And you've done a lot of television before that.
Oh, yeah.
A lot. You've
Lot,
been on
yeah.
a lot of. You've been at SNL.
Yes.
The list is very long. So you guys have been performing with. But that was really your kind of breakout from the per se a little bit. You moved to LA. Is that what happened? Is basically.
No, well, my mom moved us to LA from Chicago, circa 1971.
Okay. You moved.
So-
You were in Crenshaw. Were you in the Crenshaw?
No, we moved first to Placentia, California.
Placentia.
And it was literally like that scene in The Wizard of Oz, where everything was gray and dark and it turned to color.
Like going from Chicago to LA.
Yeah, everything was vibrant. Like when we first got here, I saw, black people with orange shirts on. And I just thought to myself, that's odd. Because, like when you lived in Chicago in the 60s, and New York too, I think, for the most part, it's pretty much stay in that sort of brown, gray, blue.
Yeah,
hues.
guys weren't wearing vibrant
You
colors.
didn't really see a lot of people running around during that time.
wearing orange or yellow.
Yeah, if they did, they were hippies, or then there were the others,
or they were pimps.
or pimps. Right.
I mean,
It's remarkable how pimps and hippies wore the same clothes.
purple, yellow, orange.
Or you were Jimi Hendrix. You were a rock star.
Yeah,
one
exactly.
one of the three. But the normal average person walking around, no. That was like, and that's when people used to have code words. That boy is acting funny, or your uncle would say, that boy got half a mind. But what they meant was you wearing a lighter color, so you must be gay or something. That's what they meant. These were code words.
Yeah.
And we knew them. They didn't actually have to say it, although they could say it in those days. They were pretty blunt about words. You could say the N word on TV like nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you, nothing's gonna happen. No one's losing their job or any of that business. Any case, but still they would say, that boy got a half a mind. So, I always thought to myself, when I was a kid, it was first presented to me this comment. I actually thought they meant it actually had a half a mind.
Right.
Like a half a brain.
Yeah, like Frank
Like it was,
is-
like
yeah,
it was
not
cut in
smart.
half.
Yeah.
Like literally.
Yeah.
There's a half a brain in his head. And I thought to myself, why did they know that? You know, when you're a kid, you can't process information. You're like, why would he say? And then he says, boy, acting funny. I said, he didn't tell a joke. What's this guy's talking about? Yeah. Like, some of that stuff went over our head, but it was only for them.
Yeah.
Any case. But I got here, so it was a lot of people with half a mind in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, acting funny. And before you know it, I'm also wearing the same clothes. It's like, this transformation took place within. I went from I'm wearing blue and dark gray to striped socks and looking like I spilled out of a candy bag.
How old were you when you moved here?
16.
You were 16, so it was a
Yeah,
really
and so I'm running up
important
and down.
time. Yeah.
I'm running all over LA and Hollywood with purple and yellow striped socks, a yellow knickers, a huge yellow hat. It was the circumference of a garbage can lid on my head. One day I was sitting in my living room, and my mother looks at me and she says, "You look like a lemon." And I remember I had one of those kind of like Gypsy Rose Lee moments. I'm gonna be a star, Mama. I'm gonna be a star. And she was like, "No, you're gonna be a fool. You need to get out of those clothes." But you know what? When we did our first show on the Carol Burnett show, The Lockers, my mom couldn't have been more proud. She was like,
How did you hook up? Was that all neighborhood people? How did you hook up with
Campbell
the Lockers?
Jr. The Lockers was formed as a professional dance troupe by Tony Basil.
Okay.
Tony Basil is kind of like our Abe Saperstein, if you know who he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Famed for the Harlem Globetrotters, what have you. So Tony didn't teach us how to dance or anything like that. But what she did was teach us how to be a professional. Teach us how to do choreography. I remember the first time we were formed after SIR, Tony started to teach us how to count. That's a comedy in itself because we were like going, she was like, okay, you go 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2. We're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, if you were walking, you would think they can't dance at all. Because we were like, and then one point we would get frustrated and it's like, all this counting. Can we just dance? Okay, because here's how our choreography works. In football, they have a concept called an audible, right? Maybe the quarterback is on the field. There's a play that has developed that wasn't really practiced or something that they didn't predict is happening right now. Well, the coach will give that, if he's a trusted, quarterback that's won some Super Bowls, what have you, or a trusted quarterback, they will give him the audible. He will allow him to call an audible. Mm-hmm. It was a 5, the play was a 5, but no, we're doing not a zebra 5, we're doing a run to the right.
Run.
Right. Okay. Our choreography as the Lockers before we turned pro was just a series of audibles. So Greg, if you watch our first show, you're going to hear us talking the whole time.
Oh wow!
Because Greg was talking us through it. He was saying, "We're going to break it down. We're going to break it down right now. We're going to step back right now. We step back because we know he's calling that.
Right, and you're just following.
We got to kick a leg right now. Kick it up. We kick our leg and then catch him up. Yeah, okay, And so our routines were like that. So you have to always be alive in the moment and ready. Choreography for us was like, which would be the difference between, like, I guess, porn and having a real love affair. I mean, nobody just shows up. Hey, we're in the neighborhood. Got your mail. Love doesn't really quite work that way. Right. Real relationships are developed, not like they do in pornography. Okay. Right. Well, choreography kind of felt like that to us. Like, why we don't feel like kicking our leg right now.
Felt artificial.
Yeah, it was kind of like James Brown works. We work more like that, spontaneous, in the moment.
Right.
And that's the beauty of it. But when you're dealing with a lot of television executives and directors and things, they want to know, are you going to come down stage and we want you to turn to this camera, because they're doing a 3-camera setup. on variety shows. So we were like, so there was a learning curve, and it was difficult at first to find the middle. And we found the middle. We found the middle, and then we were able to express ourselves fully at that point.
Was it almost a form of like a choreography with some free form allowed within it?
Okay,
in some level.
Okay, Toni Basil, I liken her to more like kind of Phil Jackson or a coach, if you will, whereby she would design a play that allowed flexibility. She'd say, "Look, you got 2 counts of 8. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to come down stage here. Okay? What you do to get here, I don't care.
Just make it good.
Just get here by that second 8.
Yeah.
You understand? And so we were like, okay. So we would start creating actual moves based around this idea. Because one day Toni said, approached Greg, who was like our line captain, and she said, well, you got 2 counts of 8. And I need you, come down stage here and then make a kind of pivot and then go back up stage here. I said, okay. He said, we can keep time. We can keep time. And keeping time was basically like a wrist roll. So it was just a wrist roll walk and a kind of funky walk with a wrist roll. Well, this was called keeping time. And so that became part of our choreography. He said, okay, we're going to keep time. When he said keep time, we know he meant wrist roll with a walk. So, of course, we started adapting the moves like a Witcher Ways or a Scooby-Doo or a Skeeter Rabbit or a Churn or a Shake It and Lock It or a Campbell Lockett. We would start to call it in kind of like in plays like you would football. They said, we come down here, we're going to do this, then we're going to come up here and we're going to do this. And then in between, it gave us all the freedom to be ourselves, to, as crazy and as wild as you want it to be. And so that was encouraged.
Well, there's such a personality with, everyone has, like you said, it's like recognition.
Yes.
Each individual
Yes.
has a character, that they're that you have to recognize. It's almost like it's second nature that you're seeing it the way that it works. I was watching some of the old footage yesterday, just kind of going through this stuff, and I was like, "Oh my God!" It's just you can just sit there and watch it all day because there's so much entertainment going on.
Well, you don't know what's going to happen next.
No, no clue.
Right.
It's just great. The cameras are following.
You know what's crazy about it? Some of those times we didn't either, which makes it fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's kind of like acting. Real actors, who all you need to know is the direction. You just need to know. So the director's there, a good director allows them the flexibility we're talking about right here.
Yeah.
Once you hit that mark, but in between you can do your thing. That's why we're hiring you to do the in between stuff.
Exactly.
To fill up that content there. Okay, so anyway, that when I travel the world, they ask me about that. I said, well, why does your locking look different than kids locking today? Why is it different? I said, well, we have freedom, we have structure with freedom. It's totally different, and we have a different direction in terms of our message. That is also different. So I said, well, as a kid, the youngest member, I was the Michael Jackson of the lockers. I say that every once in a while, and I get kind of starry eyed. They look at me and go, oh, And I had the cute Puerto Rican fro. And I was skinny and lanky, super talented. But anyway, I just threw that in there. I don't know if I was super talented, but I felt that I was. Any case,
it showed on screen.
Let me at least feign humbleness. Let me get away with it.
I was all right.
I did the best I could
With what
really
limited
well.
skills I had.
I'll do like a Trump. I did the best I could, the best ever. No one could do the best I could better than me. Anyway, so I was saddled with the responsibility of being youngest member to introduce my big brothers in the troupe. Okay, And so it would go something like this. I would say, we're the Lockers. We're the improvisational style dance troupe based on the improvisational style of the individual. Let's give it up for Campbell Locke Jr. But the key is we're an improvisational dance troupe based on the improvisational style of the individual. So it's important today, and I tell kids in hip hop, we have this freedom. Don't give up your freedom. These shows like, So You Think You Can Dance or America's Best Dance Crew has basically relegated my people to slavery. I mean, the shows, they're selling these kids a false bill of goods. You're not going to be a star because you went on that show.
Right.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Those kids, most of them, they return to the supermarkets that they came from.
Yeah.
Right.
Or wherever else they came from. And so that's a false bill of goods that these networks are selling these kids.
Yeah.
The real star of the show are not the dancers. It's the show.
Yeah.
That's why when you win one season, they're already on to the next one.
Yeah.
Who's the star of Jeopardy? Jeopardy. I mean, let's not be fools here. We know exactly what's going on. So I tell them, hey, don't lose self. Self is more important than fame. Don't lose who you are in the process of trying to make a living. Now I'm down for making a living, of course, and there's a living to be made, to be carved out, but not at the expense of self.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and I really mean this. If I sound like I'm striking a serious tone, I am.
Please.
If I can't be who I am, if I can't tell the story that I need to tell, then I might as well go to work somewhere else.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that I'm unreasonable.
Right.
I'm reasonable. I do understand the collaborative process of making a film or a television show or a live show, whatever the case may be. But what I mean by that is like the story I want to tell is not a specific storyline, but staying true to whatever it is. I don't want to present anything false.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I was going to say I don't want to Michael Bay my way through life, but just transform everything. I'm not that.
Yeah.
And it's people who are really good at being that, and God bless them. No harm, no foul. But for me, I enjoy the human interaction. I enjoy the human experience. So for me, and even if I decide I'm going to be Transformer, then I got to find the truth in Transformer. There's still some truth there. It can't just be about turning into cars. Yeah. Is that what we're talking about? We just I'm a carburetor. How do I relate to that? How do people feel like when I go home? I love that carburetor. Oh man, that manifold had me going. Man, he swings a mean manifold. But look at all that gas. But that picture was a gas. Yeah, I'm just saying that for me as a content provider or producer or creator, I want to create things that will stimulate the human condition. Our mind, our spirit, our souls, what I call ESP, emotional and the spiritual and the physical side of our being. So that has to be stimulated. If not, I have walked away from so many projects, and they were great people, but if I can't give my soul to it, if I can't love it, but now I'm different. Anybody who wants to hire me can call 310-497-8822. That was the wrong way to go. Look at no.
Yeah, so take a but
I had to take a step back.
Yeah, but it is a good bridge because you are a storyteller. You are a content creator. Mm-hmm. You are an independent producer, and you've got. You've written, your autobiography, and I've noticed that I believe that someone else is going to be, that you guys are working on a feature based on that.
Definitely. The King of Crenshaw.
The King of Crenshaw.
Yeah, so my memoirs, the memoirs of a dance forefather of hip hop. But it's been a great journey. We're not quite finished with it, but I'll be finished with it by the spring of this year. Okay. So we'll have a release by summer. of 2019.
So that would be
And
the.
so
is that
people-
the feature or is this the book?
No, it's the book itself.
Oh, okay.
It's to write a book is a long and arduous process, and I wanted to do something that was totally different. I didn't want to write one. I was born the son of a sharecropper at 12 midnight. I said, I am not going to write one of those kind of books where, it has to feel real. It has to be real, the experience of it and the way it's told. I think I've taken some creative licenses in terms of how the book is written. I think it'll be entertaining. It's told in a narrative style, much like it would read like a film. I call it a film in words.
Okay.
Told in words.
So we're looking forward to that, of course. And I know you have a few other things in development right now.
Right. One thing that we're working on is another dance picture. I have two partners, Billy Frank and Lamont Pete. And we're working on bringing kids, my fan base, a new film. I don't want to give up the title yet, but a new dance film. So that's pretty exciting. And just in TV shows, I write them all the time. I just showed you guys. You won, but yeah. See there it is. I have no shame. And now we've come full circle. At the end of the day, I'm a fuller brush man with the heart.
Yes.
With the soul. It's not all about bristles and soap.
Right.
There's actually some suds here. Any case. So I'm always, at some level, pitching one of my stories or projects, what have you. But what I do, I don't create just for a project. I create for the sake of creating. Some of them I may never sell. That could be. I've always had a dream of playing Cap Calloway. I never got that one made. But hey, it still doesn't stop me from creating it. If an idea comes to me, I don't question it. If an idea comes to me, I have nowhere to pitch it, I have nowhere to sell it, but for some reason it came to me in my mind or my heart, and so I write it and I just kind of chuck it away. So I have a number of those.
Got it. And
you can call me anytime. I'm selling ideas by the baker's dozen.
And then as a teacher,
Yeah.
I know that you tend to go on world tours and things. Are you about to be going on one?
Yeah.
Or what's your next destination?
Right. I just got back from Moscow, Russia,
Okay.
which was very interesting to be in Russia and playing Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. And seeing the little Ruskies get down. But anyway, I just thought, we've come full circle. But it was a great time. The Russian kids, teens, they love street dance. They love my work. They appreciate it. So I love going there. I work with the UDC there, the United Dance Complex.
Okay.
Well, now my next move is back to Taiwan. I'll be in Taiwan and Taipei with the TBC and the OBS event there. So this is now my fourth time invited back.
There's some pretty talented dancers in Taiwan out there. Yeah,
they
are very into. They love dancing.
Let me tell you something. The Taiwanese love. Well, Asians in general love to get down. They love it. From Korea to Japan, China. I did a 7-city tour in China, and my agent, I just met with him. He's like, "Hey, let's go back," because it was like about 4 or 5 years I did that 7-city tour. He was like, "Let's go back." Sometime later this year for
if you
3
ever need a
weeks.
camera crew,
The making of.
yes,
Yeah.
So if people want to know more about you, or they want to keep up with you, do you are you on social media?
I'm on social media. I'm on. You can go to my social Facebook site is facebook.com/fans of Shabba-Doo.
Fans of Shabba-Doo.
Right. It'll say Adolfo Shabba-Doo Quinones. And then I have my IG account is official Shabba-Doo.
Okay.
So, and you can go to my website, www.shabba-doo.com. That's SHABBA-DOO.com.
And there'll be links to all of these on our site.
Yeah, and I have my gear, afro. See my gear?
I did. I was
Americans from royal origins.
Wow.
That's great.
And I would love to be able to send you gentlemen.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Some teas or
yeah,
whatever.
we'll take some pictures. We'll
Yeah,
put 'em up.
We'll wear it.
and rock
wear
the
them.
brand.
Oh,
now,
yes.
you know, when people see Afro, they automatically think that it's a black exclusive thing.
Mm-hmm.
But me and my partner, who's a white guy, in his 60s,
Mm-hmm.
and lives in Weirton, Virginia. That's where our flagship store is there.
Okay.
And the company. But we created the idea together to promote unity. And so we don't see it as just a black centric sort of thing. We think that all Americans, in terms of their higher self, can come from royal origins. That
Absolutely.
kind of thing. Now, some black people obviously love the Afro idea, which is cool, and if that's what they believe it is for them, then that's cool too. But we're not just exclusive to the black market or black people.
Just because we'll be running this Black History Month, so white sisters and brothers, feel like you can go buy some Afro
Please
gear.
do.
You know what I'm saying?
Wear your Afro gear. We got hoodies and caps and
and wear it
everything.
proud.
Yeah, so you'll see my store. My store there. I have a number of products on
Excellent.
www.Shabba-Doo.com. God, I said that 3 times.
Yes, you
Yeah,
did. But
you
that's good.
Yeah.
Get them plugs in.
There you go.
Well, thank you so very much for
I had
coming
a
in.
blast.
I think we had a good time
Yeah,
too.
this
It was
was
really
good.
good time. Really good. I'm full of energy.
I feel like we just.
I'm ready to go to dance
It didn't
class.
even
Where are we
really
going?
feel, right. Come on. But it didn't really feel like we were just doing a show. It just feels
Yeah,
like
it
we're
was
just
like a
having-
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Yes.
And
That
time
does.
flies. I feel a little sad right now.
It does. I know.
I'm gonna sing. Now it's time to say goodbye to all our
family.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. Filmmakers on. Filmmaker's son.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Shabba, I'm dancing. Ooh, man, I wish you could see me in this podcast. I'm shaking my ass.
You don't want to see me do that.
Everybody can dance. That's right. So, I mean, what great Black History Month as we continue with martial artist, actor, Godzilla, Mr. TJ Storm.
Godzilla in the house next Thursday. And if you're enjoying our podcast, please subscribe, leave a review. We have a Patreon if you want to donate and help us offset the cost of our podcast. We'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, and interact. Feel free to, we have a Facebook page, we got an Instagram page, we got a Twitter page, we got info at filmmakerson.com. So we have lots of ways to reach us, and we are available, and we want to know, especially what your questions are, things that you want for subject matter. We're working on next month a really special crowdfunding series, which I think that you're really going to enjoy. So we're always trying to come up with things that hope you guys are enjoying the show.
Yeah, if nothing else, just drop us a line and let us know how we're doing.
Filmmakers, son.